Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. It is indeed an excellent day to serve an excellent God in and with the spirit of excellence. Good morning, Coach Sherry, Chaplain Sherry, your community pastor Sherry. Sherry from the 800 block of Mooney Avenue. Good morning. It is indeed an excellent day to serve an excellent God in and with the spirit of excellence. Good morning. So glad that I am here this morning. I am back. The Thanksgiving holiday is over, and we are all back in our places with sun shining faces. Good morning. Oh, it is indeed good to be here, as they say, found in the land of the living. I pray that all is well with you. I pray that all is well um, concerning you. Can we just breathe? Can we just breathe? Because we have been in the hustle and the bustle of all kinds of things, preparing for Thanksgiving and all the feast and dysfunction and family and all of the things that come along with that. We've gotten over that. If you are in Louisiana and maybe you were at the Bayou Classic, which was a stunner of a game between Southern University and Grambling. Of course, Grambling was winning, and then they weren't. So that just goes to show you, do not stop fighting. As long as you got time, as long as there's time on the clock, do not stop fighting. So good morning, good morning, good morning. And so if this is your first time joining me, you may indeed see me applying makeup. You may see me applying makeup, but can I just tell you something? This has nothing to do with makeup tools, tips, or techniques, because this is going to be what it is going to be. I'm just doing what I'm doing while I'm talking, to you. Some days will be better than others, but guess what? Each day I'm going to make a determination of what's good enough for me, and I am going to get out of the door. So, as we said, that, Thanksgiving is over, the hustle and bustle, and we are entering into another season. In fact, we have entered into another season. Um, and you may think I'm talking about Christmas. I am not talking about Christmas. There's a whole lot to get through before we get to Christmas. Um, we have entered a sacred season. We have entered a sacred season. We have entered, excuse me from reaching over you. We have reached Advent. Advent. And you may have been hearing me talking about it and you have no idea what Advent is. And so this morning, we want to talk about it because beginning tomorrow night, that's Tuesday, December the 2nd, we are going to begin our Advent study of Jesus born into a world like ours. But I think that it is important that I talk about what Advent is. And so that's what I want to do this morning for a few minutes, is talk about what Advent is. Good morning, Robin. So glad to see you this morning. So, if you're like me, if you grew up in a Protestant tradition, meaning if you were Baptist, if you were anything but Catholic, basically, especially in the Black church tradition, um, if you did not grow up Catholic or Methodist or those reformations that follow the liturgical church calendar, you did not celebrate Advent, right? So many of us did not grow up in a tradition that followed the liturgical calendar. And I want to just stop right here to say is that on the liturgical calendar, on the church's calendar, Advent is the signal of a new year, because the church is in a cycle that begins with Advent, the coming of Christ, Christmas, Christ is here. Then we go into what we call ordinary time. Then it flows to Lent and then death, the resurrection, and then Pentecost, and we are back in ordinary time in the life of the church. In other words, at that point, the church is being the church. The church is being the church and doing the work. So it is a cycle: birth, then death. So now we are in the season of Advent. We are anticipating the arrival of the baby. And so in this season, we are waiting, right? Just think of a family awaiting the arrival of a baby. We are waiting for change. We are waiting for justice. And we are waiting for the promises of God to meet us where life has broken us. Right? So we're waiting for this baby. We are waiting for the promise. We are waiting for justice. We are waiting for God to show up. And so, in this, beginning tomorrow night, Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and you can see the registration link in the comment section, it is pinned there. We will be talking about the world in which Jesus was born. We will talk about the world in which Jesus was born. And I am going to suggest, and I am pushing, that Jesus was born in a world just like ours. Because the truth be told, we are waiting for change. We are waiting for justice. We are waiting for God to show up where life has broken us. So, what is Advent? It comes from a Latin word meaning coming or arrival. It's a 4-week Christian season that leads to Christmas. In other words, this is not the Christmas season. Christmas does not begin until December 25th. It begins when the baby has come. But now we are in the season of Advent, and we are awaiting the baby's arrival. We are in a season of expectation. We are in a season of waiting. We are in a season of waiting. So this is a time of preparation. It's not about rushing to opening the presents. It's not about the tree. It's not even basically about the hoopla or the celebration. Advent is a time to prepare our hearts. It is a time to slow down. And if you have not read my blog that I posted on yesterday, please go back to my post that I did on yesterday, because yesterday, Sunday, was the beginning of, it was the first Sunday of Advent. And if your church recognizes Advent, there was a lighting of a candle, the candle of hope, to symbolize the beginning of Advent. Your church was dressed, as they say, in purple, because purple is the liturgical color of this season. So this time of Advent is a time to prepare our hearts. It's a time to slow down. And so the blog that I wrote on yesterday is how Advent saved me. How Advent saved me in the fact that I was getting caught up in the hustle, the bustle, and the trauma and the drama of Christmas until it was overwhelming me. So when I discovered Advent, it allowed me to breathe, to slow down, and to change the rhythm of the season. So Advent prepares our heart, it slows us down, it causes us to pay attention to God and makes room for hope. So it means the coming of Christ. So now on this side of the cross, so to speak, or this side, we understand, we remember the first coming as a babe, and we are perpetually waiting for the second coming. So we are in a perpetual state of Advent. So his first coming was to come to Bethlehem, the birth of Jesus in Bethlehem, God entering the world, listen through this, through a poor, young, brown-skinned Jewish girl living under Roman occupation. Jesus comes through the marginalized. Jesus comes through not the rich, not the elite, but through the poor. That's the first coming. That should give us a clue of what Jesus is going to be about. And then the second coming, right? His promise to come again to restore justice, to set this world right. But guess what? While we are waiting, we are not just sitting rocking and waiting passively. We are actively doing the work of Jesus, which is a justice work. So Advent reminds us that the work or the story is not finished. Advent reminds us that the work is not finished. So if you want to know what your purpose is, if you want to know what you should be doing, you should be working to restore justice. You should be doing the work of Jesus in whatever you do, it ought to be about ensuring righteousness, that the scales are balanced. You should be doing the work of liberation and not of enslaving people with rules and regulations and even doctrine that enslaves. So Advent tells us that the story does not end in oppression. So we celebrate or we observe Advent to prepare ourselves spiritually. Good morning, everybody. If you are just joining me, Coach Sherry, Chaplain Sherry, your community pastor Sherry from the 800 block of Mooney Avenue, the unmuted one. Good morning. We are this morning preparing our hearts for this season of Advent. We are slowing down. We are not getting caught up in the hustle and the bustle of a capitalistic Christmas. This is indeed a free space. All I ask is that you like, share, tag. Like, share, tag with somebody in your circle, clique, or crew. So we celebrate Advent to prepare ourselves spiritually. Advent invites us to pause and to ask, where am I wounded? Where is God calling me to heal? What needs to be released and what needs to be restored? It is a season of reflection. It is a season of prayer. It is a season of courage. And it is also a time for us to remember God's faithfulness in hard places. Can I just tell you that we have some hard places here in our lives? There are some hard places in our lives. And so, as we go over the story, we find that Jesus was born in a hard place. Jesus was not born in comfort. Jesus was not born in comfort. But he was born into an occupied Palestine. He was born into economic struggle, political violence, and a community that misunderstood Mary. In other words, Jesus was born into a hard place. He was born into struggle. He was born into systems that sought to kill, steal, and destroy. In other words, God is at home in the places where people struggle. And that's good news for us. That's good news for me, because these are indeed times of struggle, economic struggle, political struggle. I'm trying to suggest that the world in which Jesus was born is not different than ours. And so Advent reunites this hope that God is going to show up. That Emmanuel, that God is going to show up. Hope teaches us that about injustice in this world, but it also gives us a spirit of not giving up because we expect God to move. And I was in church yesterday, and the lectionary text was dealing with being ready, and you know how God shows up in a thief as a night. That you have to always be expecting something to shift because you don't know when. And so what Advent helps us to hold, hope is holding on to the rope when you want to give up, but you don't give up. Why? Because you are expecting God to move at any time. So this is what we are talking about in Advent. I need to also tell you that during this season of Advent, we're going to pay attention to Mary's voice because Mary prophesied in Luke 1:46 through 55 that we call the Magnificat or Mary's song. It is the theme of Advent. It is the theme song of Advent. And I got to keep moving because I'm acting like I ain't got nowhere to go this morning. Mary's song is a voice of prophecy. It is a voice of prophecy that we need to pay attention to. And this is what she declared: the powerful will fall, the oppressed will rise, and God stands with the forgotten. That's good news in itself. Mary's song, the theme of Advent, is that the powerful will fall, the oppressed will rise, and God stands with the forgotten. And so, whether or not you grew up with Advent or not, this is a good time for you to get on board. Advent connects Jesus' birth to oppression and liberation. It centers Mary's voice and it honors the waiting that many of us know too well. It seems like ours is always coming, that we are always waiting on something. And so, Advent is a season of sacred waiting. It is a season for us to connect with Mary, the young, brown, Jewish, marginalized girl. And we wait expectantly for God to show up, even in hard places. Listen, that's all I got this morning. But I want to remind you, if you have not registered, this is free. This is free. This is free. And if you register and are not able to come to attend live, I will make sure that you have the um the recording. Because I understand that not everybody can come live, but we're going to do it in through Zoom. It's not going to be shared on social media platforms. It's going to be Zoom. So listen, that's all I got. Y'all be blessed. You can see I still got a lot to go here, but may all be well with your day as you await God to show up in your hard places.